We've spent over 10 years on air, shaping a generation of action motorsports, and now we're changing the game again. The best motorsports, the best action sports, and the best of pop culture with some epic guests thrown in. I am Jim Beaver, and this is the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Hold on tight, the misadventure is just getting started. Welcome to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. All right, so we got a lot to talk about, a ton to talk about. This is an amazing interview, one that I recorded about a week and a half ago. Main reason it's just dropping is we had a big interview with Lacey Blair, episode number 500. Whole lot of stuff going on, and I was also at DirtFish for 3 days, as well as out at Camp Rigid. So we're going to have a lot of fun with what happened up at DirtFish. Obviously, an amazing partner of mine, dates back a decade. We do some really, really cool stuff together. We're going to talk about that. I've filmed an entire video log for, or I guess vlog, if you want to be correct. That's going to drop on YouTube. It's going to be pretty long form, pretty awesome stuff. Basically takes you through an entire 3 day at DirtFish. And, what that's like. So that's going to be dropping on YouTube. Obviously, I've had a bunch of social content, but be looking for that in the coming week. Got a big interview with the Martelli brothers that I did sitting here in Parker while they were visiting, trying to lock in the big announcement that the Parker 400 is returning. So the Martelli brothers have the Parker 400. Legacy Racing also has their Parker race, going to be run within a month of each other. I think there is going to be some different tracks and things like that. So really anxious to see what comes of Parker. Obviously, the Martelli brothers, though, it's a big deal of them bringing something of the mint and the California 300 scale to my hometown. Really, really excited about that. I think it's going to be huge for the industry, announcing their new Unlimited off-road racing series or championship. I'm hoping to compete there all three of their rounds next year, which will be the Park 400, Mint 400, and the California 300. So, 1,100 miles of racing, 3 marquee events, and I guess for the UTV people like me, if you win the entire championship, you are crowned UTV world champion for the year. So I think that's a pretty big deal. So I'm excited about that. Definitely going to try and go out there and win a world championship, I guess. Obviously, press release is on my website, jimbeaver15.com. Go check out on that. I think we really need to dedicate an entire show to talking about that. But massive news coming out of off-road. I'm very, very excited. Obviously, you guys know that Matt and Josh and I are very close friends, but also tip of the cap to Legacy. Donald, Liz over there, good people, and I'm stoked to see them in Parker as well. So we're going to have 2 events in Parker within a month of each other. I think they'll both have distinct, unique look and feel to them, a little bit different courses. So I think it'll be fun. We'll see how my little community can support 2 major events all within 30 days of each other. That coming up in 2024, and that was the big news coming out of off-road. Obviously, San Felipe this weekend. Hopefully you're driving back or you're in the chase truck when you're listening to this. But we'll definitely talk about San Felipe next week as well. Big stuff going all over the industry. I mean, our partners at Kawasaki announcing 50 years of the JetSki this year in 2023. 50 years of the JetSki. Started out as a stand-up, but they've come a long way. 310 horsepower, supercharged jet skis now. 1,500 four-stroke stand-ups. It's crazy, the technology and how things have changed in the world of jet skis. I know, I rode jet skis as a young kid for a long, long time. Kind of really haven't spent a lot of time on them in the last decade or so, but now being with Kawasaki, I've kind of come back to them, and I'm having a blast. Going to have a lot of jet ski content coming, but that's something for another day as well. Good news is about this new format. We're doing a lot of podcasts each and every week. I've got some really fun guests coming up. I think I'm doing a sit down with Mark Gomez, JT from Black Rifle Coffee in the coming weeks. Ann and Glennon, a.k.a. Jet Girl, one of the top female jet skiers in the world. Obviously, a ton of off-road stuff to come. Man, it's going to be fun. We're going to be all over the place on this show. But what have I chimed in on? DirtFish, the Parker 400. Oh, yeah, we got some big guests this week on the show. My good friend Sara Price, yes, she's been a co-host of the show, been a guest a lot of times, but we got a lot to talk about with Miss Price. She's going to be on the show. And then, stepping things up a little bit too, we're going to make it interesting. Joining her on the show this week is going to be Mitchell Alsup, who he is a racer himself, bad fast, but he's also one of the best UTV fabricators in the world. He's going to be joining Sara because he actually built her race car. She won at the Mint 400 in. So we're going to throw them both in. We're going to talk UTVs. We're going to talk industry. We're going to talk racing, and it's going to be hella fun to catch up with both of them at the same time. So definitely stoked on that, stoked on this show. And I just want to say once again, thank you guys for continuing to support us. Man, we've, over a decade now, over 500 episodes. You count everything, we're probably close to 1,000, but we're still cranking here and couldn't do it without you guys listening in. So if you haven't already, head over to Apple Podcasts, hit the subscribe button, and we've got a lot of video and television announcements to come. So what you need to do is probably follow us on YouTube as well because, we're going to start having some video components to the show and some really cool stuff dropping on YouTube very, very soon. So at Jim Beaver 15, same as all my other social media. That being said, before we cut to a short commercial break and we get to Sara and Mitchell, do want to say now through the end of April, it is the best time to buy a new set of General Tire. Yes, General Tires delivers. GT delivers. You know it. And right now they're delivering the savings. So if you're listening to the show, whether you listen to it on my website, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening to, YouTube, go to the footnotes of the show. You're going to see a link to General Tire's website. Click that link. It's going to take you over to GT's website. You know what that's going to do? It's going to tell you how you can save up to $70 off a set of tires, qualifying tires now through the end of April. So, yes, right now, if you need new tires for your ride, now's the time to get in on that with General Tire. Hit that link and, you can spec out, see what models are available for your car, truck, SUV, and get up to $70 off on a qualifying set. So just got to hit that link, and it'll tell you all you need to know. All right, we're going to take a short commercial break. We come back. It's going to be Sara Price and Mitchell Alsup right here on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Making the most of every moment can be demanding, which is why at General Tire, we think you should demand more from your tires. For more than a century, we've made great all-around tires that always deliver the right combination of performance, durability, style, and value. Whether you're looking at the ultra-high-performance summer tires for your street rod or the best-in-class all-weather tire for your family crossover, General Tire delivers for those who demand more from their tires. Find your fit at GeneralTire.com. General Tire, the official tire of the Jim Beaver Show.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
Don't just shred your way through any off-road rugged terrain. Get into gear with GSP XTV and let us redefine your adventure. The GSP advantage of quality and performance sets a standard for UTV axles. We strive to provide premium ATV and UTV axles to keep you shreddy ready. Kick up some dirt and get in the driver's seat with GSP XTV. With over 35 years of experience, drive with a company you can trust. Drive with GSP. For more information, please visit us at gspxtv.com today. Like what you're hearing? Do us a favor and head over to Apple Podcasts and rate, review, and subscribe to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki and never miss another show. Welcome back to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show here with a couple of good friends of mine. Obviously, a lot of you know Sara Price, been my sometimes co-host, good friend for a long time. But I think for the first time ever, we got Mitchell Alsup joining us as well. What's happening, guys?
What's up?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having us.
I know. I'm excited for this one. Sarah, I don't know. I've lost count. We're probably up to 40, 50 interviews together and everything else. But I'm like, man, throwing Mitchell in here, I feel like this is going to throw it for a little bit of a whirlwind. This should be fun. A little bit different voice to our shenanigans, Sarah.
I know. I'm excited. It's been a long time, though. I feel like we haven't got on here for quite a while, so it's going to be fun to catch up some and get to enjoy hearing some stories of me and Mitchell and our new partnership, and it's been exciting already.
Well, you've been pretty damn busy, Sarah. I mean, we'll talk about that at some point, but like the last 2 years, I think the last time we had you was right around Extreme E time, and I'm like, man, a lot's changed in your world in the last 2 years, so it's like, well, we're like, 30 minutes away from each other now, and we keep talking about hanging out some weekend. It still hasn't happened. I mean, this is bad, you know?
I know. We were just actually talking about it, the fact that now I live in Arizona, but I'm always having to be in California. I'm like, go figure. That's how it works.
Welcome to my world.
I know. We got to link up.
You and I will just have to start carpooling back and forth to SoCal together or something. I don't know, because I'm like there every week, it seems like.
Yeah, same.
So, Mitchell, though, man, welcome for the first time to the show, because Sarah and I are already off on our rabbit hole, and that's what's going to happen. So we're going to have you be the voice of reason here and keep us in check. So when Sarah and I just go off in left field, be like, hey, bring it back, guys, bring it back. So I'm anointing you the host.
I'm keeping you guys in check. Sure.
Absolutely. But no, I mean, we've known each other for a couple of years, dude. I mean, I guess let's first of all tell us about this program. Obviously, I know one of the big news coming out of last year into this year, Sarah, you signed with Can-Am. Obviously, then immediately dropped this new car with Mitchell. I mean, Mitchell. Kind of tell us about how this thing formed. We'll get your side of it and then Sarah's side of it. But, I mean, man, this is a big deal for her to be switching to Can-Am. And then, man, to have you build her a race car. You guys have been pretty damn dominant, the last couple of years with your builds.
Yeah, it's been a great opportunity to work with Sarah. And coming out of the gate, top of the box, Mint 400 was great. The whole process up to the race is just easy. Sarah's great to work with. Her move to Can-Am has been great. It's great for us. So to give her a car, all of our suspension components, we did a race prep on it, got it all dialed in, and to give her a car and go out there and compete is just it's great for her and it's great for us. And this is just the beginning of what I think she's going to be doing in these Can-Ams. You saw her out on the podium this weekend at Nitro. I mean, she's very talented, and for us, that's what we want. We want talented athletes pumping our brand, showing how well our parts work, and being number one.
So, Sarah, let me ask you, because I kind of had this awakening here about a year and a half ago. I mean, you're about 12 months behind me, but, obviously you and I were in the same ecosystem for a better part of a decade, and that's all we could drive. And then all of a sudden, you know what I mean, you're out of that ecosystem and then you can drive other things. I mean, what was your first experience with a Can-Am? Because I know mine on the Cowie side was just, I was like, holy crap, this is how the other side's living? Like, there was so many differences, and I'm assuming you kind of had the same thing with the Can-Am.
Yeah, definitely. So everything kind of happened really fast. I signed with Can-Am, and then I got my cars about 3 weeks before King of the Hammers. And so it was kind of just thrash and kind of do whatever I possibly can to have a prepared car and learn these cars and everything I possibly can before KOH. And I really had no time in the vehicle until I got to the lake bed. And then we were just, learning one thing after another, and then also having to test us until midnight before the race. And we ended up not having the best race there, but I think that was, the new car blues, and also just getting used to everything and not knowing things that now Mitchell, having him on board, right after Hammers, I called Mitchell when I was building these cars, and I was asking him questions inside and out. And I just was okay, what about this on the car? What do I do here? And now I just handed over everything to him. And it's been, I think, honestly, the way that we've combined our programs and how Mitchell came in and the way he's helping me with building my car, prepping it. He's so motivated, and he has such good quality products. And he also himself just, he's really completed my vibe. He is exactly the person that I've been looking for to complete my program for many, many years. And it showed at the Mint, that it was kind of a match made in heaven.
Yeah, well, and I mean, Mitchell, tell us a little bit, because I know you and I have talked off and on for the last couple of years. You've kind of dedicated yourself. A lot of builders are kind of all over the place. They'll build a little everything. You've pretty much dedicated yourself to the Can-Am platform, and I feel like that kind of gives you a leg up on a lot of other builders that maybe build, 2 or 3 different manufacturers. Kind of tell us about, your approach to the Can-Am platform, because, I mean, first time I saw one of your race cars, I can't remember. It was maybe a year and a half ago, but they're just so clean. Everything's polished. I feel like even the stock class vehicle, you know what I mean? Like what you built for Sara, to me, it still very much looks like a race car. It's like, I feel like you've taken a complete different approach to the building of these than many other the guys, that are out there building race cars.
Yeah. So my standpoint on, I've built, before Alsup Racing Development, I had built the company I was at before. I built a lot of pro turbo cars, unlimited cars for a different manufacturer, and then stepping into Alsup Racing Development 3-4 years ago, focusing on Can-Ams. You're right, Jim. It makes things easier, and I believe we have a better end product because we still are a boutique fab shop. We're a small crew, but we focus on good quality work. Our race cars, whether we're pushing out pro turbo cars, unlimited cars, or KOH cars, or pro stock cars, functionality is first and foremost the most important thing. And then from there, we bring in performance. We bring in, I always like our stuff to look really well. That shows well for the brand. So to bring in, and then we bring in our suspension components, right? So we have the chassis, then suspension components, and then we tie that in with race prep and good pit support, and we try to go win as many races as possible,
Well, and do you feel like, UTV and Sara can chime in on this also after you do, but UTV racing's changed. I mean, when I got into it, you know what I mean? We're talking I've been UTV racing about 10 years in some way, shape, or form at this point, you know what I mean? But I feel like then till now, it's been a massive change, one, in just what we're racing, because before it was pretty much a stock car with some long travel stuff bolted on it. But two, I feel like it's become so highly specialized. I mean, we're seeing, like, you referred to yourself as a boutique, and I feel like, you're a Can-Am boutique builder, right? But I feel like, you've got Jamie Campbell at Raceco. He's highly specialized in the Talon stuff. Now you've got Carson Ornemont that's getting highly specialized in the KRX stuff. Yeah. Do you feel like, moving forward, that's almost what it's going to take to win, is to specialize in one specific brand and just pour all your efforts into making those cars go fast?
Yeah, I do. I think we do have a leg up. Me personally, being a Can-Am supported driver, that helps build the race cars as well, right? So it's kind of like this perfect little world that I've found myself in with, the guys on the team at Can-Am, ARD being a Can-Am driven brand, and I honestly, in the near future, I don't really see us stepping out of what we're doing, because I don't want to hinder the quality of product, right? Like, I want to keep our quality tight and keep it clean and do what we know best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think now in UTVs, it's an OEM battle, right? And that's what we need in this sport, in off-road in general. I don't know why we haven't had it in the truck classes yet, but it's UTVs, it's where it's at. You have people that are coming from trucks going into the side-by-sides and trying to figure out how to be competitive, because it's not something that you can just hop into and have everything figured out unless you know what you're doing. And, that's why the super stock class that I raced at the Mint, I know there's a big old talk. There's a lot of classes out there in UTVs, and I agree there is. But I think a truly stock class like the one we raced at the Mint is, I think, should be the highlighted class right now for the OEMs, because you're actually truly building a product that is still the original product. And, obviously we put Mitchell's arms and he did the prep and he has all those little minor tricks, but at the same time, you're still going out there with the actual truly stock car.
Stock car, yeah.
And that's so important, I think, for these OEMs, because you get into the pro turbo classes and is it badass? You have these insane, incredible cars. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's no longer what it was originally.
Yeah. And like with the stock class, we're running stock axles, stock drive lines, stock steering. I mean,
chassis.
The chassis. I mean, we were really, Sarah's on bone stock clutches. We're really honing in on the stock platform and what it truly is off the showroom floor.
Yeah. And I think that's where, we're going to bump up the sport, and we need the OEMs to battle. We need to go out there on stock platforms, and we need to push the stock product. And I think that's where we're going to have support as racers. That's where the OEMs are going to showcase themselves the best way. And I think overall, it's something I truly believe in and advocating for, especially with all these talks with all these classes. I'm like, okay, a stock class, let's make it a real stock class. None of this like halfway stuff. It's either full mod or stock.
Right. So last year in stock class, they actually in Best in the Desert, we were in a restrictor on the car, and it was like 150 horsepower car with 15-gallon fuel capacity, which basically limits you to the stock tank, and then an 85 mile an hour speed limit, and you get the cars working so well. Like we were still, and Sara did at the minute, like we were still in the top 10, top 15 cars in really what was all bolt-on products, bolt-on cage, that we're putting these cars in the top 15.
Well,
so it's a true testimony of what the car does right off the showroom floor. It's amazing.
Well, and I completely agree with everything you guys are saying. Not to agree, just to agree, but it's like, I haven't gone public with what my racing plans are, but I've gone from having, Guthrie's X car, which, that thing's full chromoly chassis build. Thing is ridiculously fast, and we had a whole lot of success with it. But I'm building a car for a super stock class, but now that they split them, it's going to be for the NA class. So, I'm a believer in the Cali platform being pretty bulletproof. And I'm like, all right, now I don't have to run against turbos. I can go. And I've had a lot of people internally go, you're going to be racing against 3 guys or, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, for now. I'm like, give it a year.
For now.
Give it a year. You know what I mean? There's going to be 10 or 15 because I know what it costs me to chase a championship in the unlimited class when we were pulling top 5 overalls at every single event. I know how much money, even with factory support, it was costing me. And I'm like, that's just not sustainable for UTV racing, and I see these factory programs get announced from these other manufacturers and, in the 7-figure, investments. And I'm like, it's just not sustainable, man. I really see the turbo super stock class and the NA super stock class in the next 12 months really exploding with growth because nobody can go and chase and throw that kind of money. I mean, I've got great sponsors. Sarah's got great sponsors. Mitch, you do. And it's like all 3 of us are going, we'll stay in the stock class because we just don't want to burn that kind of money.
Yeah, a lot of my customers, I'm probably 50-50 in our shop right now with Pro Turbo Unlimited guys and then Super Stock or Pro Stock guys. But all the customers coming into ARD right now, a lot of them have their eye on the Pro Stock, Super Stock platform. And I think you're right. Yeah, maybe there's 3 cars in there right now, but it's a more sustainable class. And hopefully in a year from now, there's 15, 30 cars in the stock class. I mean, I think it's great.
Yeah, you're seeing it now with the spec class. Like the spec class has always been big. Like we were looking at entries, me and Erica, we were like, oh my gosh, there's 36 trucks. And then I was like, well, how many was there when we raced Baja? She goes, oh, about the same. So it's like, yeah, it's always been there, but now I think people are truly paying attention to it, and it's getting a lot more support and a lot more eyes on it because you have the trophy truck class that isn't as fair anymore, I guess. And so people are now paying attention to the spec class, and it's the same thing in UTVs. I think, like us going to our actual real, I hope that it doesn't get called super stock anymore. I hope it's the true stock class, and that's just what it is. And then it becomes kind of the pinnacle class for, if I was an OEM, I'm obviously not, but if I was, I would want to support where my product's going to be true to itself as much as possible,
Yep.
Yeah, well, because it's gotten to the point with the unlimited classes in UTV where it's like you know, as Mitchell knows, you take the two frame rails down the center and the engine, and you throw the rest of the car away. You know, it's
Right.
like literally that's pretty much it. Like people are trying to buy just a bare chassis and an engine now instead of a complete car because everything's thrown away.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, I do think it's situational. I mean, obviously, I'm slightly biased when it comes to the Pro Turbo and Unlimited stuff because we are building them and doing the full chassis stuff. But you know, my sales pitch on it is, you know, if a guy comes in and wants to race Best in the Desert and score for 2 or 3 years, I sell him on the Pro Turbo or Unlimited car. It's a full chromoly chassis. It's maybe it has some you know, it has a longer life to it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm selling them on stock axles and drive lines and knuckles and clutches. And I mean, Cameron Steele's car that we house, it's a full chromoly chassis with a stock tune in it, and he went P3 at Prologue at KOH.
That's
you know, so it's like. I pitch them, you know, different ways, and everyone has their own scenario. But, you know, I guess where I'm going with this is the stock components that are available, even for our Pro Turbo stuff, are great.
Yeah, and 100%. It's even like when you go to KOH, you know, like let's say you have a full, you know, like Cameron's car, complete badass built car Mitchell did for him, and you know, it's insane. And even after I talked to Cameron, called me not too long ago after the Mint, he goes, "So how cool is it working with Mitchell?" And I'm like, "Oh, he's so badass." I was like, we have exactly the same like visions and vibe, and you know, like everything's super clean and dialed, and you know, quality is most important, but. He's like, he built me my most favorite car I've ever had my entire life. And he goes, and it's a UTV. And I think that's pretty freaking cool. But for KOH, you know, going out there in a stock car isn't going to be as easy as going out there in a fully built Alsup car. I can tell you that. So there's definitely a time and place when, you know, I think for factory support long term, you know, you get a car every year, every 2 years, or whatever the case is, the stock class is for sure the way. But if you're trying to chase championships, build a race car, get better every year with the same car, then yeah, for sure you need to go with chassis car.
Yeah. And I think too, like, you know, talking about, you know, the trophy truck side of things, stuff like that. I mean, you know, I grew up in this industry. My dad was racing Class 8, and then trophy trucks came around, and I raced trophy truck for, you know, better part of a decade and that. But it's like, you know, I was there when the OEs were involved, you know, and you had Ford and Chevy, and it got to the point where the vehicles weren't anywhere, you know, all it was an emblem in the front and an engine that was loosely based off of a Ford or whatever. But the costs got so crazy expensive, and it got to the point where the ROI wasn't there, and then all the manufacturers pulled out. And then Ford got back in the game with like the stock classes, and I know like Chevy was through their AM General brand and things like that, you know what I mean? So the stock classes became a popular thing where they weren't getting the TV time, but it was like proving the product, and the manufacturer throwing money in there, you know, and stuff like that. And I almost see UTVs literally going down this parallel right now where it's like, you know, you're still going to have those people wanting to run fast and things like that, but I feel like at some point the OE manufacturers are going to go, you know, we're not getting our return on investment. And they're going to start to scale back and look at the stock classes more. And it's like literally you can take a snapshot of trophy truck and the full size trucks, and it mirrors what's happening in the UTV industry right now. And it's wild that they're literally running parallels just 20 years apart.
Yeah, for sure. But that's why you see like all these OEMs, like for the trucks coming into play, you have Toyota, Ford. They all want to be in their stock class and improve their stock product first, so then they can sell it on the showroom floor, like, you know, Baja proven.
Yeah. So Sarah, what's the plans for you? I know obviously you just went and did a Nitro Rallycross race, but what's you've got this car that Mitchell built you. What's the plans for 2023 for Sarah Price? Yeah,
the main goal has been so I made the switch to Can-Am, and that was having my sights set on World Rally. And so World Rally Championship is definitely where my eyes are set. The goals are set, and Mitchell was super pumped to hear that. And we're going to try to figure out how to have him a part of all that. And then the Triple Crown is the main thing. So it will be the California 300, and then add in whatever races kind of fit around everything. Nitro kind of just came out of nowhere. Joe just called me, Joe Duncan. He just was like, hey, I got some sponsors for a car, and they don't conflict with anything, and they're really excited. I'm like, perfect. I'd love to race Nitro. So then we headed out there, and it was a blast to get back on short course. But right now it's full bore, getting ready for Sonora Rally, which Mitchell has my car straight from the mint. It got loaded up there, and he took it home, and he's working on it now to get it ready for Sonora.
Yeah, how I know the Nitro Rallycross was there at Glen Helen. Obviously, you know Glen Helen well back from your Razor 900 days when you were just sending it around there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, how much different was a Nitro track than the traditional Glen Helen setup that you're used to?
Oh, that's what was so funny. Like everyone, I think people think I do everything all the time, and I do a lot of stuff, so I get it. But at the same time, I was like, guys, I don't think I've been on short course for 8 years. I was like, I was on short course in the XP900. I was like, to put it in perspective, I was like, well, we're changing fenders for aero and trying to get anything we possibly can to get a little bit more mile per hour. But now, I was blown away. I didn't get to drive any of those cars they raced this weekend until race time. And I got in it, and it put me in my seat. I was so impressed that it's a stock car, pretty much a racing stock car with just a cage on it. They took a bunch of weight off, and they have small wheels and tires on there, and no beadlocks even. So you're talking a light car, and I was blown away how fast these things are going. It was a blast, but I definitely had my work cut out for me to kind of get acclimated again and get back to the drawing board after every session and kind of pay attention to what is fast. And so I just started following the faster drivers and just kind of picking off their lines and seeing what they're doing to know what is fast in those cars.
Well, and I know the season just wrapped. They run it's almost like a NHL type season where it's in the fall and then in the spring. So things fire back up for that this fall. You think there's opportunity for you to do a little more nitro, when the new season starts?
Yeah, I think so for sure. It was such a positive weekend for me, for partners, for the series. And so I think overall we're all just super stoked on how it went. And I think definitely there's going to be potential for me to be coming back in those. And I think just overall, just as a driver, it's so good for you because it keeps you on par. It keeps you pushing the limits. It keeps you fast. It keeps you sharp. And it's such a cool platform what they're doing with these cars. They're completely spec. We weren't even allowed to check our own tire pressure, and I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think that's what's rad is, you talked about the Razor 900 days. When we first got into racing UTVs, I mean, you were taking everything. Actually, everything on the car you were throwing away and putting stuff because you knew it was going to break. And now you're talking about, you're running the super stock class. Mitchell's telling us about all these stock parts are running in the desert. You just ran Nitro Rallycross in a relatively stock, pretty stock Can-Am. I think, to me, that's what's really remarkable, how far the UTV industry's come, where we're actually racing on all these stock parts at so much faster speeds than we were 7-8 years ago on cars that we had to change everything on.
I was blown away. I seriously was like, wow, this is a truly stock car. They just put radius rods on it pretty much, and that's it. Other than that, it was just wheels and tires in the cage, and they just cut a bunch of weight. And so I kind of was like, dang, this is crazy because I just got out of my car at the mint, and not saying my car is slow, but I'm not saying it's light. And so you have to carry spare tires, you have to carry a jack, you have to carry tools, another human being in the car. You have all these things that bog down a desert car because you're trying to make it long distance or nutrition and the key, And then now you take all that stuff away and you still have the same platform without all that weight, and you're just like, holy crap, this thing can really go. I was truly blown away, and they had put a steering quickener in these cars on the short course. And they didn't tell me until I got on the track the first lap, and I was like, I'm going to die. Hold on. This is gnarly.
You know what's funny is my trophy truck, I had the steering sped up so fast in that where it was literally very small movements and you could turn the whole truck. I did it purposely, you know what I mean? And I love driving that. And then when I went to the UTVs, yeah, I'd run a little bit of a speeder in there, but it's it was so slow. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, I went and ran my truck one more time at Parker, and I hadn't been in it in 2 years. And I went, holy crap, does this thing turn fast? It's it takes a while for you to readjust your thinking, because when you're in a twitchy car like that, when you know how to drive it, there's an advantage. But when you're not used to it and it's been a while, man, there's a little rust that needs to blow off.
Yeah, for sure. It reminded me back, like, getting into a stadium super truck. I was like, okay, let's get the mindset right here. But I didn't know at all. So my first lap was that's all I was thinking about, my first lap in that car. And then I was like, dang, and it fastens off that? Okay.
Yeah. So, Mitchell, I was just going to ask you, what's your racing plans? I know you're building all these cars, you're supporting everybody, but you also race at the same time. What's your plans for the year?
That's a good question. So Best in the Desert is my focus. We raced KOH. We got second in pro stock in the desert race, and then Cameron and I got eighth in the rock race. So I'm going to focus on Best in the Desert. I would imagine this year with the ball and possibly being a peninsula run, I'll probably jump on board with somebody as we get closer. Just focusing on Best in the Desert, focus on getting results, win another championship there, and it's tough for me sometimes because I'm drawn between car builder, business owner, which you guys can relate to, and then racer, right? And all of those things that I do are very close connected. So a lot of people don't realize I'm a racer, and then some people don't realize that I'm a builder. So I'm always trying to bridge that gap and have brand awareness around all racing development.
Dude, I feel you, because it's like sometimes I juggle hey, am I the radio or the TV guy, or am I the racer? Right. And sometimes the radio and the TV guy pays way more than the racer does, so I have to not race, right. And it kills me. It's funny. So we went back last year. Kawasaki invited me back to Nashville, and they had the Monster Jam thing, and they invited me back there as their personality, and I was doing a bunch of video stuff and talking about things and whatever, and they had the Monster Jam track set up, and then they literally set up a demo track. They set up a demo track for the KRXs to go around, and it was so people could come in during a Monster Jam event and drive a KRX around a stadium. It was a pretty rad track, and so they got done with the demo runs, and there was like an hour left, and they had no more demos, and so they're like, "Hey, you want to jump in here and drive one?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't want to drive at the demo pace. I just want to drive." And they're like, okay, and so there's like 2 or 3 people at Kawasaki that knew I raced. There's a lot of people who didn't have any idea who I was, and so the one guy from Cow, he just looks at me and he goes, "I'm signing off on this. I'm leaving." He goes, "We only have 4 of these in the world right now." He goes, "Please don't destroy it." And he walks out of the stadium, and everybody just kind of looks at him. And I get in there, and they have this whoop section. Everybody's going like 3 or 4 miles an hour. I literally hit that like 40 miles an hour, just tapped out. The thing skipped across it. And I go and just throw it this big old slide. And I get out, and everybody's like, "Who are you, and what do you do now?" And it was just one of those where it was awesome because nobody had any idea I knew how to drive race cars. And I went, and all these people, even the guys that run the demo, go, "Well, you just made a fool out of us." But it was funny. So sometimes it's fun like that, where people think you're the car builder, they don't realize, oh, this guy's a badass, he can actually win races.
Yeah, I mean, that's where that's where the passion for my business came from, was starting racing 1600 cars, and then where I was at with the other manufacturer before Can-Am, winning races there, and then that's what drives me. I mean, I'm a racer through and through, and that's what drives our product and our cars and all that. So it is funny, Jim, to make those connections, and like people are like, "Oh, you can drive too." I'm like, "Yeah, give me the Can-Am, I'll wheel the rocks, no problem." Like, yeah, I'll run a section at 1,000. I grew up in Baja. Yeah. Come on, let's go. So interesting.
It's so funny because I feel like in motorsports today, there is no, well, not in off-road at least, there's no you're just a driver. Mm-hmm. You have to you have to figure out your own story and what your own mission is, and I don't know, it's really cool. But talking about KOH, Jim, I have to tell you about something that's really funny. But Mitchell fueled me on accident. He didn't even know. So this just goes to show how perfect of teammates we were meant to be before we even were teammates. But I came to the alternate pit, and
which was a heck of a pit. I mean, it was not a good pit.
No, not a good pit. And I didn't know if my crew had an issue or like what was going on because I had no communications because technically on the FAA license I have for the radio channels, I own Weatherman and Ultra 4 or Ultra 2. And so my channels don't even work because even though I own them, no one will get off of them. So then I'm sitting there like no radio communication, nothing. And I'm coming by this pit and I'm like, oh, maybe something happened to my crew. Like, why is this team leaving me in so heavily? And I was like, I guess I need to stop. And so I pulled in, they started fueling me and I didn't know anyone. And they're looking at me and they finally probably look at my eyes and they're like, wait a minute, you're not Mitchell. I was like, wait, I'm not full. Keep it coming. And then I finally got word that my team was down the way, but we got done, and I didn't even know it was Mitchell's team that did this, and I'd already been calling and kind of asking all these questions and advice, and later on by the Can-Am dinner, by the fire pit, he's like, hey, I have a funny story to tell you. My team was embarrassed to tell me, but we fueled you during the race. I was like, that was you?
That's awesome.
The guy who ran that pit for me, he's been involved with me since I was 10 years old, taking me to the ball, and he came up to me and was just like, this has never happened to me ever in racing, and it happened. We fueled the wrong person. It was so fun.
Well, what would have made it good and bad, now we laugh about it, is if he gave her all the last gas and then you pull in and they're like, yeah, we got no more fuel.
Yeah, I know. And that's what they were worried about. But, oh, man, that story we'll talk about for a long time, I'm sure.
It just goes to show we were already looking the same, and then I had media, like everyone's sending me pictures and video, and half of them are of Mitchell, and I'm like, well, you want all this content, I got it for you.
You'll almost have to screw with them next year and like put on one of Sarah's old helmets and pull into the pit and make them double take. Like, what's going on? Yeah,
that's funny.
It was a good time, but yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. Oh, so what's next for both of you guys before we let you go? Obviously, I don't know, either you going down to San Felipe here next week?
I'm not.
Sarah, we're not racing Cam's car down there?
Oh, yeah. So me and Mitchell, we're seriously sitting there testing, and we start talking about all these things, and we're like, I'll drive it with you. I'll race it. He's like, oh, okay. So then we'll race that, and we'll race this too. And then we're sitting there, and I'm like, okay, we got to focus. I
know, right?
Triple Crown and Sonora, but me and Mitchell want to race everything. So honestly, I wouldn't doubt that you might be seeing me and Mitchell hop in a Can-Am sometime somewhere for some things that we don't have planned.
That's the hardest thing is, especially like, when the car's in pieces or something like that, but I've done that where it's like the car's all ready to go and then you're like, oh, I got 3 months before the race or something like that, and it's like, you get that itch where I just want to go race it. It's like, like my new car. It's like, we're planning on racing the California 300. It's going to be done here in like the next couple months. So I'm just like, I'm already looking at the calendar. Do I take it to Vegas to Reno? I'm like, no, quit thinking that way. Just go and concentrate on what you were going to do.
It's so hard. It's so hard. Like, yeah, we have Cam's car sitting here ready for San Felipe, and I'm like, oh, we should definitely go. And then I'm like, I don't know. I don't think this is a good idea, But
it's always a good idea.
It is always a good idea. It's always a good idea. I'll have some customer cars down there. Sounds like Michael McFadden will be down there in our desert chassis, running Pro Turbo. He had a great run at the Mint. He actually had a problem last 40 miles, but he was up there with Toronto and Benquist. So that was a great showing for ARD as well. But I guess next on the list is going to be Sonora Rally with Sara, and then Nora, and then Silver State 300.
Well, you mentioned McFadden there. I want to give him a little shout out because what was it, 2 years ago, 2021, when I was 21? Was it 21 or 22? One of the years. The year I was racing and I did like 7 or 8 races. I was chasing the Best in the Desert Championship and then did a bunch of other things. Got to race against that kid in Best in the Desert all year and got to know him and his dad really well. And I think that was his first full year racing. And I got to tell you, like, that kid is bad fast. He was only 15 at the time, so he's probably 16, 17 now. But I've told everybody I'll talk to, I'm like, you watch this kid, and and they're very humble. They're not like they're big social media, like this and that. They post up, when they need to and things like that. But I'm like, you watch this kid. That kid has some crazy talent. I'm like, I want to see that kid when he's 20 years old because he's just going to be destroying everybody.
Yeah, it's the last year working with those guys has been really great. He actually came up for 2 weeks, lived at the shop, and he worked side by side with me while we assembled his ARD unlimited car.
Yeah.
So not only can he drive, he's prepping his own stuff. He's got his dad 100% on board. They're putting together just a phenomenal program, and I'm stoked just for them to be in my car and be a part of the program.
Yeah,
that's so cool. That's so important, though. I haven't made it to Mitchell's shop to hang out very much, but that's something I plan to do too. Is you really got to be involved with your vehicle, see what's going on, and before Hammers. Man, I just was burnt out. I worked on those cars nonstop for 3 weeks straight. And I was
Sara was calling me like at 11 o'clock at night, like, hey, I, what's going on with this? What's going on with this? She's like, what are you doing right now? I'm like, I'm finally working on my car.
Yeah, I was dedicated for sure, but it's been so nice to hand it off to Mitchell and actually know it's getting done right instead of me learning and having to learn the hard way in a race and have something happen that I could have prevented.
Yeah, I think there's a give and take to it. You know what I mean, Sara? Like, obviously, you've worked on your own stuff for years, but I think it's like I've learned, like, there's certain times where I need to work on my own stuff and learn, but there's also times when you hire, I hate to say a professional, because I think you and I are both professionals, but it's like you hire somebody like Mitchell to handle it, so he's giving you the best equipment possible, and then it's easier. I guess it's easier to learn when you have a really good car, how to take it apart, put it together, and how things work, than when you have a really bad car and get it to go fast. So it's like, I don't know, there's like a give and take where you need to know your own equipment, but you also need to hire somebody that knows what the hell they're doing at the same time, and I think you found the perfect balance, with things right now.
Yeah, 100%. It's been a great, just all the way around everything, but no, I think that's so cool, like with them, in the fact that he was out there working on the car and, they're a great family. We actually, his grandparents own a property right next to ours that we just bought. So that's pretty small world. It was crazy how it ended up a full circle. We're at their fire pit and they're like, I think you guys bought property right next to us. And I'm like, how crazy of a world is this that we live 500 feet from each other and basically we have the same car builder, it's like, what?
Oh, small world. I think this industry is, though. It's like, it's nuts, and it's like certain times you meet somebody and you're like, how like you never met them before, but you have like literally, 5 different people that are friends in common and things like that. It's just a very weird world, It
is. It always is a small world. And that's what's so cool, though. Motorsport, like, from outside looking in, if you're new to it, you think it's this huge world and this huge community, and it is, but it's also still pretty small. It's like, one person, you go full circle, and you're at an NASCAR race, and you're talking to their best friend, it's just crazy how it all works. It's all intertwined some way or another.
Yeah. One thing that I've actually found out that I love, especially about UTVs, I can go to an NHRA drag race. I can go to the Indianapolis 500. And one thing in common, they all own UTVs. It's like I go to NHRA and I'm talking with top fuel people, or I go to Indy 500 and these guys are sitting on the front row at Indianapolis Motor Speedway and they don't want to talk about the race. They want to ask me, hey, what long travel should I put on my Polaris? Or, I just got this UTV and what axle should I get? It's just funny. Like, UTVs have become like a common denominator where everybody, regardless of motorsport, owns a UTV.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's great for our industry, and that's great for the racers. And back to the stock platform, racing the stock platform. I think it's an amazing opportunity that Sara and I have to be in these stock cars.
Yeah, for sure, and that's why like my focus has turned from more the trucks to the UTVs again, because I know there's so much more potential there right now with the OEMs, and to be able to go to the World Rally stage, obviously Can-Am dominates, and that's where you have to have the support in order to get there. And so being able to align with such a company and have that in my sights for the future. You know, all this is in preparation for the ultimate dream, and that's to get to the car.
Yeah. Well, and I think, it's, I spent my entire beginning of my career in the truck world, and then I moved to UTVs, and I had a lot of people go, do you think it's a step backwards? I'm like, no, in some ways I think it's actually a step up. But yeah. I know, and you know what I mean, the crazy costs involved with running trucks at a high level, and you can run an elite level UTV program at a fraction of the cost. The media value is still the same. You've got manufacturer involvement. And like I tell everybody, I'm like, yeah, I might be going 20, 30 miles an hour slower than a trophy truck in certain areas, you know what I mean? But I'm like, the biggest thing is we've got 40 people competing, and I'm like, it's just as hard to win a top level UTV race as it is to win a top level trophy truck race. It's like maybe a different speed, but I was like, the competition and the drivers and the quality, it's still the same.
Oh yeah, 100%. I totally agree. It's it's definitely its own niche, and you got to know your stuff, and you got to know how to drive them, and it's just different for sure. But yeah, I've been so fortunate having Chattanooga Whiskey always on board with me in the trucks. And, they still all the time, they're like, your truck's just sitting there. She's ready. But it's hard sometimes because, I want to focus on my goals. And it's so hard sometimes because you get distracted. You have amazing opportunities that come your way. And it's like, oh, yeah, I do want to do that too. But it's like, okay, now I'm like, I keep having to tell myself, okay, Sarah, come back to where your goals are. Come back to where your goals are. Stop getting sidetracked. And so
it's so easy to do, Sarah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's
people. It's be cool to do, every once and again. But I don't think it's a 2-wheel drive small block, and it's an absolutely amazing truck. It's a geyser truck, but it's not necessarily something you line up and you're like, oh, I have a chance at winning this fair and square. It's kind of like, okay, luck needs to be on my side today.
Yeah, it's time and place. Like I tell people, I'm like, I'm not done with trucks. I'm like, I just don't know when the next time I'm going to drive one is. It's like the right opportunity will present itself, and I'll be able to go and have a good time and do well. And I was like, and we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. Until then, I'm completely, content doing what I'm doing,
Yeah, it's so much fun though. It's just like the fact, like even like Mitchell was saying, like, hey, wait, are we gonna go race San Felipe? And it's like to have that opportunity and potential to just go and do that and be surrounded by people, and that opportunity is just rad. Because that's what we love to do. That's what we're doing. We're racers, and we're just trying to figure out a way to make it all happen.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's one thing I love about the industry and the racing spaces. I feel like the racers, we all think alike, and we're all problem solvers. There's a solution for everything, and there's nothing that we can't conquer.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if you're not a problem solver, you're going to struggle out there.
Yeah,
that's right. Definitely the truth. But man, I appreciate you guys taking the time on the show, Sarah. You know what I mean? It's been too damn long. Like you and I used to do this, seemed like about every other week, and now it's been like 2 years. So,
I know.
And Mitchell, we'll definitely make it a little more frequently the next go around,
yeah.
buddy.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for having us and follow along. Sarah has a bright future, and we're hoping to be right there with her. So yeah, thank you for the time today.
Yeah, you guys will have to stay tuned because Sonora, we're going big.
And that's what I like to hear. Man, big things to come for Sarah Price and Mitchell Alsup. They're going to go big at Sonora. I like it. Man, lots of good stuff. Love to see a smile on her face, and that's all you can ask for. Looking forward to being a part of the ride with Sarah and Mitchell this year and seeing what they've got up their sleeve. Big shout out to Alicia for setting this all up. Thanks a lot, Leah. Appreciate it. Appreciate everything. And I think it's time to take a short commercial break, and we come back. Going to wrap up the show right here on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. When it's time to replace the tires on your vehicle, General Tire delivers the tires you need for both your next big adventure and your daily commute. Whether you need all-season traction, lasting tread wear, or a quiet drive, General Tires are designed to deliver whatever life brings your way. From all-season ultra-high-performance tires for passenger cars and crossovers to extreme all-season mud terrain and tires for light trucks and SUVs, General Tire delivers great performance. To find your ideal tire, visit GeneralTire.com. General Tire, official tire of the Jim Beaver Show. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more. Looking to have some fun on four wheels? DirtFish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at DirtFish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle in Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount. Like what you're hearing? Do us a favor and head over to Apple Podcasts and rate, review, and subscribe to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki and never miss another show. Welcome back to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. And I think it's about time to wrap things up here. Another great one. Big thanks to Sara and Mitchell for coming on. A couple people got crazy amount of respect for, and known Mitchell for a few years, Sara for a very long time. Sara and I go way back, and just stoked to see them both slaying it. And thankfully, they took the time to come on the show. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, head over to Apple Podcasts, hit the subscribe button. Please leave a rating or review. Definitely helps us out. Same thing over on YouTube. I'm at Jim Beaver 15 on social media, and we got all kinds of content dropping on the site at JimBeaver15.com. What else? Oh yeah, General Tire, big partner of the show. Don't forget, hit that link in the footnotes, and $70 off a new set of qualifying General tires now through the end of April. Just click that link, it'll tell you all you need to know. Big thanks to Vision Wheel, Kawasaki, Rigid Industries, DirtFish Rally School, GSP XTV Axles, iRacing, our boys at Clean Freak. Just all the amazing partners that we've got in the show. Just continue to crank each and every week. And, man, if you got any guest suggestions, we got a lot of flexibility now that we're in this podcast format. Please hit me up on social. Let me know who you like on the show. Like I said, Martelli Brothers coming up. Got a big interview with Black Rifle, Mark Gomez. I know Jet Girl Anna Glennon coming up in one of the upcoming shows as well. I think we got some more pro wrestlers coming up, some musicians. Man, we got a stacked lineup the next couple of weeks. And, pretty much everything. Nothing is off the table. So if you got a guest suggestion, let me know, and we'll do our best to get them cycled in. But, you guys have a great week, a great weekend. I'm sure next week we'll be talking about San Felipe and a bunch of other stuff. But, until then, take it easy, and we'll see you next time right here on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. And that's a wrap for this edition of the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Thanks for listening. Be sure and head to Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the show, and follow at Jim Beaver 15, at General Tire, and at Kawasaki USA on social media. Itching for more? JimBeaver15.com has all the latest. We'll see you next time.